We can start taking our seats. We're going to move into the afternoon plenary sessions here. Just a quick reminder, there will be lunch served following the rest of this programming here on the main stage. But you heard a little bit from him earlier, but please welcome back to the stage Chris Moorhead, VP of Strategic Accounts at Gemalto, who's going to take us into the IoT design and deployment process. So let's hear it for Chris.
Let's just see if I can get the presentation working. And still waiting. It is.
Sir, we're waiting for you to clear the security alert before we bring it up on the stage.
Oh, I can't see the security alert.
Can't see it, so go ahead and bring it up on the screen.
There we go. All right. So again, my name is Chris Moorhead. I'm the VP of Strategic Accounts at Gemalto. Really what I wanted to talk about here in the next 15 minutes is just a really quick introduction of Gemalto, what we do, and our position in the IoT market, and then really jump into the question that almost all of my customers and people looking into the space have, which is which LTE technology to utilize for my future deployments. And so I'll be breaking down just the way that the different technologies behave, the global rollout, and what the best strategy moving forward for you to do an integration is. So Gemalto, we are the world leader in digital security. We're over 3.1 billion euro in revenue in 2016. We have over 15,000 employees scattered over 180 countries. What we really focus on are a multitude of industries. Our namesake is really around the mobile services, so supplying SIM cards and SIM card services to the MVNOs and MNOs of the world. Banking and payment, so providing credit cards, bank cards, and then the services that go along with that. We have enterprise and cybersecurity with the SafeNet acquisition that we did, which is the security in the cloud. Then we have our software monetization platform. Then we also have our government division, which does e-passports and identification security. And then finally, we have the Internet of Things, which is the Centurion platform, which focuses on the cellular integrations of the IoT industry. And since I'm the VP of Strategic Accounts for IoT, that's what I will focus on for this. So the Centurion brand has been around for 20 years. We were at the inception of M2M in the automotive cellular industry. We've just deployed our 100 millionth cellular module into the market, and so we have a wide-ranging products scattered all across the globe. And so the idea that we put forward to the market is connect, secure, monetize. Now, these are basically horizontal requirements that we see for everybody that's doing an IoT development. And based on the legacy that we have with all of our other divisions, really security is at the heart of our business, and that's what we're trying to bring to the market. So we really need to have trusted connectivity. Our customers have to have trusted security to move them towards an easy path to monetization. But since we have a short amount of time, I wanted to focus just on the connect and the question that everybody has to ask, which is, what is the best cellular IoT technology for my integration? This is always the obligatory picture that people put up to show how complex cellular technology is, but what I really like about this picture is it shows the path that LTE has gone through. When you start off, LTE, I always use the adage that LTE for IoT is like a Ferrari on a dirt road. It's too expensive, too big, too powerful, too power hungry. It's not what people wanted. And so what we saw is the separation of LTE towards Cat 3, Cat 6, Cat 9, for automotive and consumer devices, and then you saw the path going down towards MTC, which is what we need for IoT devices, which is cost optimized, size optimized, and power optimized. Now, the focus that we have in the near future is Cat1 technology, Cat-M technology, and then narrowband IoT technology. And this is just a nice little flow chart that we like to take our customers through to determine which technology will work from a functionality standpoint. And so if you're looking at the launch date, if you're looking at 2017, then Cat1 is really the technology that you want to be looking at. As you move towards late 2017, then you can look at Cat-M or narrowband IoT technologies. Then you move to voice and data. If you need both voice and data, then you have to stay with Cat1. When you go to Cat-M and narrowband IoT, it's a half duplex solutions, and you can't do true voice with it. After that, you move into mobility. So Cat1 has the performance mobility. You can transmit and move at high speeds with Cat1. As you start moving to Cat-M, there's a bit of a limited mobility with it, and as you go into narrowband IoT, they're designed for stationary devices. Moving on, you go into data speeds. You can clearly see what you need for your throughput for your devices will dictate which technology you need to go to, whether it be Cat1, Cat-M, or narrowband IoT. And then finally, it's the data size characteristics. If you want to do FOTA or remote maintenance, that is something that is not possible right now on narrowband IoT, so you'd be looking at Cat-M or Cat1 technologies. And then finally, if you have a very small payload, then narrowband IoT is definitely the technology that you want to look at. And so we see a lot of people promoting Cat-M, narrowband IoT for a multitude of different devices, but you really have to understand your use case, how you want to use the devices to dictate which technology is right for you. So who benefits the most from Cat-M and narrowband IoT? We see it as stationary applications, and this is just due to the seamless mobility is limited due to the power safe modes, whether it be the PSM or the EDRX with 3GPP release 13. Non-real-time applications. One of the things that the Qualcomm representative mentioned is that latency is always an issue. And when you're looking at narrowband IoT, it has high latency. And so if you need real-time devices, narrowband IoT is not the technology for you. So if you're looking at a payment device where you have to have that low latency, then narrowband IoT is not really the technology that's perfect for you. Again, data-only applications due to the half-duplex system. We also see indoor-mounted applications are optimal for Cat-M and narrowband IoT, and that's just because of the delay tolerance transmissions that the technology offers. And then finally, it's battery-operated devices. When you talk about Cat-M and narrowband IoT, people talk about the 10-year lifespan of the devices. But the way that that's done is through the features like EDRX and the power safe mode, which is specific to certain applications. So after you go through the different types of technology and the use case of the technology, you really want to start looking at how the technology is deployed globally. And what you can see from the chart, and I took out all the carrier names, but as you're looking at the countries and the regions, the one unifier is that Cat1 seems to be deployed in most regions except China. So that's a really good basis to start from. If you really want a global solution, you can start with Cat1, and then depending on the regions, you'll have 3G or 2G fallback. Now, as you start looking into Cat-M and narrowband IoT, different regions are coming forth with the technology before others. So in the United States, Cat-M is really at the forefront, along with Japan and Australia. As you're looking at other parts of the world, like China and Europe, they're coming forth with narrowband IoT as well. So when you're doing a global deployment, you have to consider which regions are you going to, what technology is available, and what's the right path for me. And so to do that, you have really two choices. You can do a global SKU, or you can do regionalized SKU management. For a global SKU, we have a module that we're coming out with called the PLS62W, and this is a global Cat1 module. So it will have 12 bands of Cat1, it will have 7 bands of 3G, and then quad band 2G. Now this is an optimal device for anything from, or most predominantly for container trackers. Someone like the Maersks of the world, where they're putting this device on a container, it's sent out into the world, and you have no idea which port and which network you're going to be arriving on. And so for that, you have to make sure you have as many bands and all the technologies available. This is also the module that most operations managers would prefer because it's just one SKU to manage for the world. The other way that some customers go about is with a single footprint design, which is more regionalized. This gets you down to the cost and size optimization that most people like to hear in the M2M space. But what this does is you lay down one footprint on your PCB, and then you have the ability to migrate from 2G to 3G to Cat1 to Cat-M to narrowband IoT on one single design. You just have to take the precautions in the design at the beginning stages to know that you want to move to the new technologies. And so this is what we look at for a lot of our customers that do large volume in specific regions, and they have plans to migrate to other regions, that they do this single footprint design and then migrate to it at a later date. And so in closing, Gemalto, we connect and we secure, and you monetize the IoT. So any questions? Oh, there's a mic right there.
Yeah, can you put into perspective costs involved with Cat1 versus Cat-M versus Cat-NB, both from an equipment perspective, an end device perspective, and from a carrier perspective? How much am I going to be paying for, actually put things back and forth in the air?
Obviously, for the carrier perspective, I can't comment on that. But for the device perspective, it's really, what we see is Cat1 is now. Cat-M is mid to later in the year, and then narrowband IoT is more 2017, 2018. So if I was to put it into a perspective, I would put it maybe in the 2018 timeframe for looking at pricing, because that's when most of the technologies are rolled out. I would say that Cat1, if it was at 100%, Cat-M would be at about 60% of the Cat1 cost, and then Cat-M would be at around 40% of the Cat1 costs. And then obviously with volume, that could change, but that's the general moniker that I put out for the costing. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, it's on now. Do you have an idea for what the costing model will be for the subscription cost, the monthly rates and things for NB-IoT in order for it to maintain adoption?
Again, that's really the carrier's landmark. We focus on the cellular technology, enabling the cellular technology. So I think you would have to talk to the individual MVNOs and MNOs to get the pricing perspectives from those.
Yeah, Chris. Not really technically orientated here, so if you could help me out with, you and Brian talked about latency, and you had your slide with the 3 different technologies. Can you give me some relative time frame there?
The problem with the latency issue with narrowband IoT is that a lot of it is determined by the network. And so the core of the technology is that basically narrowband IoT is a lower priority data, and so the network can determine when it's slotted into the time frame. So it's something that would be utilized in the metering industry, where you have gas or water, where you're not pulling the data, but you're pushing the data, and maybe the data is pushed once or twice a day, and then the company gives an hour time frame where they would like to see the data pushed, and then the network basically configures when it's sent out.
All right, that helps, thanks.
Chris, thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing Gemalto's view. And I think next up, we're going to have a little panel discussion about DevOps.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.